and today I'm going to show you how to do some lettering. This is all free machine embroidered and it is actually quite easy to do, so I'm going to give you some hints and tips on just what you need to do to get started. So if you like these videos, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and then you won't miss any that come up in the future. Here's the lettering, and I've used a zigzag and a straight stitch to do this, so I'm going to show you how you can do this as well. And a lot of people say to me, well, have you done that freehand? Have you marked the fabric? So I did actually write a lovely lettering on the calico before I stitched this, but this one I did do freehand. But I think because it's my name, I think I've probably had more practice writing that over the years. So I'll show you what you can do. On plain bit of calico, you can actually write on the lettering that you want to use, and there's different ways in which you can do that. So there are fabric pens that disappear with water or disappear with time in the air, but you probably have heard of a pen called a friction pen. So this is what they look like, and they can be found in the stationery section of either your supermarket or in a stationer's. So they are designed for using with Sudoku and crosswords, because they are a pen that rubs out. So that's their, their origin, if you like. But people have discovered that the ink disappears with heat, which is great because they are also nice and fine. So if you do want to write on calico, you can do it quite finely, like that. And as I say, with a quick iron, they disappear. There are other brands available because what it really is an erasable pen. So if you do see these out and about, this is what they can do. But there is a downside, and I will share that with you. On this piece of work, I actually used a friction pen, and I changed my design completely. And here, I don't know if you can see that mark has come back. It would have been fine if I hadn't changed my mind and actually stitched over that line, but because I've changed my design completely, that mark has come back and you can now see it. So just be mindful of that. Now also on this sample you can see some other lettering, and that's been written on a organza ribbon. So you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, Claire, how did you write on the organza ribbon? Because organza is quite tricky, it's a bit slippery. And there is another tip for that one. So I'll show you what I did. I got a piece of tissue paper. I like to use acid-free tissue. It's nice and crispy. And using a pencil, you can write your lettering. So in this instance, it was time. Oops. For tea. When you do it, think about how you would actually stitch this so that it's stitched in one go and you're not stopping and starting. So, oops, can't spell tea. There we go, time for tea. It's a good guideline, and I always try to make sure that they're spread out okay. If they're too bunched up, you will find that quite tricky to stitch. And another little tip is when you've done some lettering like that, if you fold it so that the last letter is on the first letter is on the last letter, like that, and put a crease down it, you know where the middle of the lettering is. So for positioning, it's really handy. You can then make sure that you've placed it in the right area. So what I'll do is just pin that to the calico. And the idea of using tissue is that you would stitch through the tissue, tear the tissue away, and then you are left with a lettering. So let's take you over to the sewing machine and show you how this is done. So I'm going to free machine embroider. So the thread that I have got on the top and the bobbin is rayon 40. It's the Madeira rayon 40, and I've got it in black, just mainly really so that you can see what I'm doing. And we're going to do free motion embroidery, so we need a free machine embroidery foot or a free motion quilting foot. So as I'm on a banana, This is my foot 24, which is open-toed, and an open-toed embroidery foot is really good to see where you're going. So I need to drop my teeth or lower my feed dogs. So on this machine, it's a button at the side. So obviously check your manual and you can work out how to drop the teeth on your machine. If you are unable to drop the teeth on your machine, it may be that you can put a plate over them, and in your bag of bits with your machine is a little plate. So it's worth digging out the manual and having a little check of what you've got. So my teeth are down and my foot is on, and I'm ready to free machine embroider. So I've got my calico in a hoop, and the best way to get started is to put your needle in the fabric and to bring your thread up through the fabric to start with. And the reason that you do that is just so that it doesn't get tangled underneath and you know where it is. Unlike conventional sewing where you're sewing away from yourself, with free machine embroidery you're going in all sorts of directions, so you don't really want to get your thread tangled underneath. So now this machine has what we call a needle up, needle down button. So I'm able to press the button, the needle goes in the fabric, and if I press it again, the needle comes up and I can pull up my bobbin thread. Now if you don't have that facility on your machine, then just use the hand wheel to bring up your bobbin thread. So that's how you do it. And the best thing to do is then to pop the needle back in the fabric before you start. So this is set on straight stitch, and with free machine embroidery, your stitch length is determined by how fast you go with your foot and how fast you move the hoop. Because there are no teeth clamping the fabric in the same way as you do when you sew conventionally, that's what's allowing us to move the hoop and everything. But it is a bit confusing because you are actually in control of that stitch length. And what can happen, and it's really easy to do this, you think, oh, I need the control, I'm going to go slowly. But you don't want to go too slowly because you end up with jerky stitches. So let's see if I can put into practice what I'm talking about. So I'm holding my two threads at the moment, but I'm going to set off. So I'm going to go quite quickly with my foot, but move my hoop ever so slowly. So I'm holding on to my hoop. It depends how you want to hold onto your work. You can have one hand on your work, one hand on the side of the hoop. I do suggest that you don't hang on to the hoop edges as if you're driving a bus, because that can actually mean that you're pressing down and it's quite tricky to move your piece of work. So try to relax those shoulders. I know it's easier said than done. Remember to breathe, and you can stop at any time. So off we go. So if I set off, hopefully, oh, I haven't lowered my feed dog, so sorry, my presser foot. So if you lower the presser foot lever, and off you go. So once you've done a few stitches, you can cut those ends off. If you're worried about it coming undone, you could go backwards and forwards a little bit, but I'll just move those ends out of the way. And so here we go. So I'm just sewing, and I'm moving my hoop really slowly so that I've got that control. But I'm sewing quite quickly with my foot. And oops. So again, when you get to the end, if you're worried about it coming undone, you can just go back over yourself for a couple of stitches and that's you done. And then if you literally bring the needle up and lift the presser foot lever up, you're able to cut that. So you can cut that top and bottom. So that's how quickly and easily you can actually do the lettering. And I'm going to cut the bottom. And now I'm going to have a go stitching over the tissue paper. So let's just do that again. So pop the needle through the tissue paper and the fabric. Bring up your bobbin thread. So pull that up. So again, you've got both ends and you know where they are. Hang on to those. Pop your needle back in and you're ready to lower the presser foot and set off. It's really easy to forget to lower the presser foot, and the reason you do that is, unlike conventional sewing where you're clamping the fabric, because you're used to the presser foot being up and down, you probably just think, oh, it's fine, it's up, it's fine. But if you don't do that, what can happen? Well, some machines will beep at you because they're clever enough to know that you shouldn't really be doing that. If it doesn't beep at you and you set off, you'll find that after a little while you'll get a bit of a bird's nest underneath, and when I'm called over in class, people say, oh, what have I done? I've got this bird's nest. And usually I'll say, oh, you've forgotten to put the presser foot lever down. And you might set off and then think, oh, I've forgotten the presser foot lever, put it down. And you might be all right, you might have saved it in time, but sometimes you haven't and you need to start again. So don't forget to lower the presser foot and then you're able to go over this. So just sew through. Now, with my T, I'm not connected to the rest of the lettering, and it's a bit of a pain to actually stop, pull out the thread, cut it, start again. So I'll show you a little tip. So bring the needle up out of the fabric, lift up the presser foot lever so the tensioning mechanism isn't engaged, and just move your thread, put your finger in that thread there so that you're making it a bit of a loop. Then manually go to where you want it to be, pop your needle back in the fabric, lower the presser foot and set off again. And again, just go through this. And again, you've got to where the F is, so lift the needle up, lift the presser foot, just do that. Pop the needle back in where you want to be, lower the presser foot and set off. Again, needle up, lift up the presser foot and do this. There we go, and then as I say, you can just go back on yourself a little bit. Needle up, lift up the presser foot, and I'll show you why you did what you did. So cut the thread top and bottom, and then you are able to sort this out. So these big loops just make it really easy to trim. So you can just do that. And then take your pins out. Throw your tissue away. And if you've got some nails, just scratch it and you get those pesky bits of tissue paper off. I mean, if you're doing this on organza, then just perhaps don't be as rough, but you can do that quite easily and it comes away. And of course you can use a pin to pick out the bits if it's easier. If you can't, like for example where that bit is there we are. How easy over that. So that's all good. And I just want to show you. There we are. So you can see. That's another way of marking the calico. So that's all done with straight stitch, but of course you can actually do some lettering in a zigzag. So let me show you what you do. So set your machine to zigzag, and that will actually determine how wide you can zigzag. So I'm going to set it to the widest setting. So I'm going as wide as I can, and just check when you do set it to zigzag that you are not going to hit your machine embroidery foot. As I say, some machines are clever enough so that when you've put that particular foot on and told the machine you've got that foot on, it won't let you do any other kind of stitch if it won't work. But I know if you buy a universal foot and you've just set your machine, just do a little double check, as you don't really want to break a needle. So let's just come down here actually and do it on this plain bit of calico. So again, put your needle in the fabric, bring it up the bobbin thread and pop your needle back in. Now lower your presser foot. So we've got it on zigzag, so the machine is going to go from side to side, but how close those stitches are again depends on you and how quickly or slowly you move your hoop. So because we want to create a satin stitch, I'm going to need to move my hoop quite slowly, but I must make sure I move it enough, because if I don't move it and I over stitch on the same spot, there's a risk of you actually breaking a needle or breaking your thread. So I've just got a size 80 needle in, and it's fine for sewing through the calico. So off we go. So here we go, so zigzag. Now you can move it slowly. The idea of what I'm doing, and you're getting that nice lettering. But I want to give you a tip actually. I just want to show you how you can get the lettering to look a little bit better, a bit more italic if you like. When you see my other sample, you can see that my Claire is written, and you can see it actually, it's a little bit more italic. So I want to show you how you can do that. So let me just prepare the machine and I'll show you how it's done. So I'm going to show you how you can achieve a more italic look to your lettering. And what I've done is I've lifted my machine up off the horn cabinet, back onto the table if you like, and I've put it at right angle, well, sort of 45-degree angle if you look, like that, because when you write with an italic pen, you hold the pen in a certain way so that you can get that italic lettering. Now, of course, when you're doing your zigzag and you've got the machine in front of you, the zigzag is literally going from side to side. So I'm trying to change the angle of my zigzag. And the best way to do that is just to move the angle of your machine. All right. So although it is positioned like that, I'm going to put the hoop in it like this and write still from side to side, but hopefully that will give me a more italic look to my lettering. So this is what I'm going to do. So give yourself plenty of space in the hoop. So thankfully I'm just called Claire, not Stephanie, or haven't got a really long name. But if I start here, I should be fine for going along. So just work out where you want to write. Just work out, and I'm literally going to write my name like that. Okay, so again, needle in the fabric and pull up your bobbin thread to start, and pop the needle in, lower the presser foot and go for it. So again, once you've done a few stitches, you can actually cut the ends and you can set off. Oops, try not to wobble. Now I just wobbled with my E. That's not the best E, but let me just show you. It's more at an angle with the lettering, and so you can just go back and do the I. Yeah, sorry, I wobbled a bit there, and where I was a bit hasty but got a bit of a gap. But it's quite good when you see that, so you know what's gone wrong when you don't get quite the look that you want. But you can see the angle is quite good, and it's just really nice and raised. So it's a good way of doing that. And I just want to show you when you, I'll just move that out of the way, how nice when you use variegated thread. That's really quite nice, isn't it? So you don't need a fancy sewing machine when you can do this freehand, and it's just zigzag. So I hope you liked seeing that today, and if you've got any questions, please comment down below and hopefully I'll be able to answer you. I'll be doing some other hints and tips about lettering and what you can do as well, but I just thought I'd start with a few of the basics to get you going. And some of you may have spotted I'm wearing the necklace that I made the other day. So this is the necklace that's I've made using just little spools that I've wrapped my own thread round, and these are charms that you can pick up quite easily. So it's something I've been meaning to do for ages and ages, and finally got around to it the other day. Anyway, if you've liked today's video, please give me the thumbs up, and look forward to seeing you again soon. So thanks ever so much for watching. Bye bye.